We had plenty of action in the midweek in the Premier League. The title race marches on, and we've got England's biggest derby this weekend with Manchester United taking on Liverpool. I'm Andrew Passaro. Welcome back to the Plus Money Podcast, your home for the best soccer bets in 15 minutes or less. We've got a busy weekend, a tricky weekend. It's just me today, some scheduling issues, but you can follow me at Andrew Passaro. You can follow the podcast at the Plus Money Pod. I've got plays for Saturday, plays for Sunday. I've got two parlays for Saturday as well. Before we get to Liverpool, Manchester United, let's jump to our first game. We're going to Luton Town. They're taking on Bournemouth. This one screams to be a wide open game with a ton of goals. They played barely a month ago. I think it was March 13th or so. With a crazy game, 4-3. Luton were all over Bournemouth. Bournemouth came back from the dead. Great game. The pick for me, though, is Bournemouth moneyline, plus 115. They're in a bit of a groove. They're playing some of the best football we've ever seen Bournemouth play. Dom Solanke up there for Golden Boot potentially. We've seen his odds drop from plus 2,600 last weekend all the way down to plus 1,600. So we're going to Bournemouth moneyline, minus 115. You could convince me into taking Bournemouth and over 1.5 at plus 110. Bournemouth and over 2.5 at plus 150. And if you think, like I do, that Luton are going to get on the score sheet, both teams to score and Bournemouth to get the win is plus 200. I could also be talked into the first half over 1.5 at plus 124. And over 3.5 here is a really low number. I don't think it's worth it, but over 4.5 is a number that I think is valuable for, like I said, we saw these teams have a 7-goal thriller a couple weeks ago. Over 4.5 at plus 300 is an interesting number. Let's go over to Arsenal. They are traveling to Brighton. This is a big week for Arsenal. Obviously, they got the Champions League back. They're taking on Bayern Munich. So they're definitely got a lot on their mind. Brighton, tricky team. We saw them give Liverpool a little bit of trouble last weekend. Now, I'm going to go to a place here that I don't normally go. If you guys listen to this podcast, you know I hate to give out an under. But the last 4 Arsenal games have gone under 2.5. Champions League rotation, Bukayo Saka potentially injured, maybe not a full-strength Arsenal here. 7 out of the last 8 Brighton games have gone under 3.5. The lone game in that run was a Europa League game against Roma when they got smoked. So I'm going to Arsenal on under 3.5 at plus 165. Again, I think you could even take Arsenal on under 2.5 at plus 410. They've got an amazing defense, a defense that will step up big time for them against Brighton. We saw Brighton go to a 0-0 rock fight against Brentford in the midweek. So I think the under here is the play. If you think this could be the draw, just take the under 2.5 or maybe the under 3. I'm going with Arsenal because I still think they get it done. I would love for them to not get it done as a Liverpool fan, but we're thinking with our wallet here, not with my heart. That leads us to our first Saturday parlay, which is at plus 262. And we're going to our tried and true, our love of Bayer Leverkusen, money line against Union Berlin, Arsenal money line against Brighton, and we're going to add Fulham and Newcastle, the over 2.5 here. I think we've mentioned it on the podcast a few times. The over 2.5 is hitting 9 straight Fulham games now, so you got to keep riding that. We're going to jump to another one I gave out last week. It missed. We got the LA Derby, El Trafico, and MLS, and we're going back to Jovic. Anytime goal scorer at plus 270. A lot of people tell you the over 3.5 is a play here. I looked it up. This fixture has been played 21 times. It's gone over 3.5, 12 of those times. It's only plus 122. I don't think that's enough for an over personally. If that's what you want to do, I totally understand why. I think it's going to be a great game Saturday night. That brings us to Sunday. We're going to Italy. We're going back to Bologna. They're taking on Frosinone. Bologna money line, minus 115. It's chalk. I'm going to take it. I'm pretty sure Nick Diani gave it out on the Kicks and Picks pod, at Kicks Picks pod. We're trying to get Nick on the show today. You can go shoot him a follow. Just scheduling. We tried. We did our best. Didn't work. Bologna and over 1.5 at plus 125. Interesting number. We know that Bologna, they're going to have a ton of possession, maybe not score a ton of goals. That's an interesting number, though. Bologna team total over 1.5 at minus 106 is not good enough for me because this Bologna team will win games 1-0. So I'm not taking that. And that brings us to the big one. It's Manchester United. It's Liverpool. Man United coming off, oh, what a week. The 1-1 draw with Brentford in the Premier League over the weekend, and then the dagger 4-3 against Chelsea to be down 2-0 go up 3-2, give away the late penalty and the late winner. I had Man United draw no bet at plus 166, and that is the worst bet I've ever lost in my entire life. I don't understand how that didn't push. And Manchester United picking up more injuries in this one. Johnny Evans came on to replace an injured Varane, and he picked up an injury. So no idea who starts in the back because Lindelof and Martinez already hurt for Manchester United. A lot of places we get going in this one. Let's be honest. Everyone's going to tell you Liverpool win big. They did win big today, 3-1 over Sheffield. Darwin Núñez looked good. Mo Salah getting the early hook, which was surprising from Klopp, but probably saving him for the weekend. Liverpool also starting to get healthier. Curtis Jones getting into the action today. Endo was rested. I'm a little worried about that. If he doesn't start, that is definitely a concern for me. But here's where I'm going. We're going to corners. These two teams matched up twice this year, and we had 12 and 13 corners. Chelsea alone had 12 corners today in their game against Manchester United. So there were a ton of corners in that game. And I think that's really where I want to target this game. Like I said, the Chelsea-Manchester United game today had 15 corners. Over 12.5 corners is at plus 152. Over 13.5 is plus 240. I know that's an insane amount of corners. Manchester United can't do anything in this game except for hit Liverpool on the counter. They're going to have to sit deep. That's what they did twice this season. Hit Liverpool on the counter. They obviously got the win at Old Trafford in the FA Cup, and they got the 0-0 at Anfield. I think they're going to have to sit deep. It plays into the style that they're going to have to play. I also like over 5 first half corners at plus 105. And I mean, I think Liverpool are going to be down Man United's throat. I think we could see over 5 in like the first 20 minutes of the game, if we're going to be totally honest. The next one I like, and I've been giving this out left and right. If it's at a plus money, it's a hammer. Darwin Núñez, 2 shots on target, plus 110. It's hit 9 out of his last 12 starts, and it's hitting 4 straight matches. The dude's a machine right now, on the best form he's ever been in for Liverpool. As they try to close things down and win a title. We'll see what's going to happen. But those are the picks for the weekend. I told you I had in one other parlay, and let me pull that up real quick right now. All right, at plus 252, it's not crazy different from my earlier one. So I just added one other leg, and it's over 2.5 in the Fulham Newcastle game. Both teams to score in Sheffield United and Chelsea, and both teams to score in Luton taking on Bournemouth. We've seen both teams to score come in left and right for Chelsea right now. I think both teams' scores now hit in 6 straight games, and the over 3.5 is hit in 5 straight games or 6 straight games for Chelsea. So there's a lot of action there. They're giving up a lot of goals. But those are the picks for the weekend. We'll be back next week. I'll have picks on TikTok at Passaro16 for the Champions League. Maybe we'll do a podcast. Who knows? Just depends on scheduling, how we're feeling. But we'll be back for next weekend as we get ready for another crazy one in the Premier League. Follow me at Andrew Passaro. Follow the podcast at the Plus Money Pod. Let's stay positive, everybody. Catch you next week.